Welcome to the weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Matt.
Hey, Matt. Yeah, beautiful.
Hello.
And this week on the weekly, where the hell are my notes? Okay, there we go. Well, first of all, we'd like to say thank you for our newest weekling. So, Tasty Halloumi is now part of the Patreon weekling tier, and thank you also to Arturo and Casey for joining the Patreon at the chronicler level. So thank you guys so much. But this week on the weekly, Wizkids Refunds, Modern Age May for Green Ronin, Slam Throne, get your pogs out, and the new classes for Daggerheart. Will and I were calling it Daggerheart before we started the recording yesterday. Daggerheart already has 2 new classes, and they already broke that wheel that they designed so nicely in their book. All right, so let's start with the some Wizkids and Wizards of the Coast bashing. So no tariff talk this week, just some bad stuff from China anyhow. Wizkids offers full refunds for a collection of miniatures that people were excited about. And of course, in the typical Wizkid style, they're those lovely pre-painted ones. They did not meet the expectations of Wizards of the Coast, their partner. So pre-painted miniatures have been Wizkid's thing for a long time. And it's just kind of, if you don't have the time for the hobby, if you don't want to assemble miniatures off of a sprue, you don't want to paint, this is at least colorful miniatures on the tabletop, but they're produced in a factory with who knows what kind of labor they're even using, and you get really the quality is just not very reliable. You get really inconsistent quality of painting. So they are offering full refunds on their Baldur's Gate 3 character boxed set. So, quote from Wizkids, "We missed the mark on this goal with the D&D Icons of the Realm Baldur's Gate 3 character box set. If you purchase this set through our online store, we will be offering a full refund to those who are unsatisfied with their set. To begin the request, please contact customer service at whizkids.com. So, yes, it's posted on their social media, and it's a strange thing because these really aren't even that cheap. Like, when I haven't bought any Wizkids miniatures in forever, and I think, didn't they do, because they did HeroClix, right? That was their first, and they also did Mage Knight. They did the pre-painted miniatures in the Mage Knight board game, and those are just okay. They're probably a little bit better standard than some of them. And I think, like they're saying, they can't get consistent results from the factory anymore. So they were flooded with requests on social media, and mostly pictures about the quality. And even people involved in the Baldur's Gate video game, Baldur's Gate 3, made some comments. So they also went on to say, "Please accept our sincerest apologies for the frustration and disappointment these quality issues caused our customers." The apology concludes, "We too feel the same, as the final product did not meet our expectations and that of Wizards of the Coast. Our teams are working to find the best solutions to resolve this for all involved and to work with you, our customers, to fix this. We appreciate your patience as we focus on getting back to those affected and helping them with their refunds." So this all got started because of posts on social media. And the thing that's a little strange, so if you don't have the time or want to spend the money to kind of get a painting setup going on, this is an option. The kind of, melty face, globby looking Wizkids miniature. Yes. And, but this box was $50. So it's 7 miniatures for $50. So around $7.10 a figure. That's still not cheap for that really low quality. I mean, board game miniatures should be less than $1 a piece unpainted. You're adding $6 on for those few blobs of paint. It's pretty pricey. I was surprised. And also, the one thing that people attacked as well is Wizkids uses really, probably studio painted miniatures to demo what this set is going to look like. So egregiously misleading promotional material they've been accused of, because they'll show a really well painted miniature, but when you open the box, that's not what you get. And it also talks about a fundamental kind of misunderstanding of who was the target for this, the target market for this. It's not the people that just want to dump out miniatures, on a grid, on a battle map to play in a session. So they just need stuff to fill certain roles. These were probably fans of the video game, the Baldur's Gate 3 video game, that were collectors of everything and all the merchandise that was supporting that game. So, okay, cool. A set of miniatures of all the main characters of that game. And then they saw how poor quality they were. Muddily painted, cheap looking, affordable but smeary faced, I think is what somebody called them. But the funniest thing was the senior cinematic artist, Elodie Celesi, posted on his social media, only Gale has a decent face. And talking about it's expensive for a 5-year-old quality of painting. So painting the quality of a 5-year-old, shame on you, Wizards and D&D, on his social media, calling them out for making those characters look so terrible. And it's a funny thing because there is better technology. I don't understand why Wizkids is leaning on this cheap plastic, blobbily painted factory work. I mean, pre-painted miniatures, a lot of companies have failed and a lot of games have failed because they chose a pre-painted miniatures route, because it is so expensive, and to keep the quality high, I think it's got to be a real challenge, because you're probably rejecting a lot of shipments of things that just don't meet a certain standard. So that's got to be really frustrating. I think it's put a lot of games out of business. Wizkids has managed to hang in there with it. But now with the newer technology where basically, you can wrap a 3D map, around a printed miniature, where you can 3D print in color, that there's all kinds of processes out there that hopefully they're exploring, but it will just eliminate this dependency on this cheap labor in these, Chinese factories, and this like really mediocre. I mean, people have just been accepting for decades this mediocre output, and just like, what Wizkids quality is. If you stand, a couple yards back from the table, it looks fine. Yeah. It's the right color of the costume or whatever. But it's strange that they've just accepted this low quality standard and not a cheap price. It's like cheap. I guess if you sent an unpainted miniature to a studio to paint, they would probably come back with a $20 or $30 per miniature price. But it's cheap compared to that, but not really worth it. Mm-mm. But so that was very funny that they generated so much anger online, and then they immediately thought they needed to address it. They should have just responded, "Hey, we're Wizkids. What did you expect?" Instead of saying, "Oh, please, yes, this didn't meet our high quality standards either." That was kind of funny. But it's sort of connected to this. There was a really funny. So Patrick on the Patreon sent me this link to a PC Gamer article, and I guess the editorial staff at PC Gamer is just like, let's just tear down Wizards of the Coast. Let's just go after them, because they've really been doing a lot of negative articles about Wizards of the Coast. And the latest one is titled "Dungeons and Dragons might be, if the trend continues, one of the most mishandled success stories I've ever seen." So the piece goes on just talking about all of the missteps and how, and I guess this is on the level of Disney's handling of Star Wars. Like, they had a golden goose and they just couldn't get it to lay any eggs without letting them smash on the floor. So, the PC Gamer piece goes on to talk about, basically they had such great success with Baldur's Gate 3. Some reviewer of that game said it's the pinnacle of the genre. Like, it's as good as Larian has done, and it was the IP connected to Dungeons and Dragons. So that's the biggest success they're ever going to have. And they just said, "Oh yeah, we want more of that." I don't think they're not going to recreate that combination ever again. And of course, criticizing they've leaned in since the beginning of 5th edition to the world's greatest role-playing game. And basically 5e just being, it's a kind of a jack of all trades game. It does a little bit of everything. And especially when they, let you kind of bolt on, healing surges and old rules from previous editions. And the best quote from the article was, it's the, should we just get pizza? Kind of like that's the type of TTRPG it is. It's like, well, we could have a nice dinner, but there is McDonald's, or, we don't want to go anywhere. Should we just get pizza? And so let's just play D&D instead of actually spending the effort to find something that, would match our play style or fit our group better. So, and it's the same way kind of McDonald's takes advantage of your biggest limitation in your hobbies, which is time, your free time. It's just like, yeah, okay, we know this game, we played it before, let's just keep playing it. So it's the, should we just get pizza of tabletop. And, the other criticism of like they didn't feel confident enough with their success with 5e to do anything after this 10 years of success. So they basically just said, here's the same game for another 10 years. Let's get a couple of the creators to oversee this, and then do a revised edition, and we'll coast on this for 10 years, and they'll leave the company. They're going to go away. Yeah, and the thing that might be confusing Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, they mentioned in the article, Magic the Gathering has an enormous value for just existing. It doesn't have to necessarily be that good. As long as they just keep churning out cards, they're going to make money, because so many people are on this competitive, deck building wheel, and they'll buy boxes of these cards just because they come out. And then also the other thing that I think has Hasbro very confused is Monopoly Go, the mobile game, has at its peak, it had a monthly haul of $200 million. So Dungeons and Dragons is never going to do $200 million in a month, even if it's it's the best month ever. And of course, their Honor Among Thieves kind of stumble at the box office. Yeah. So the comparison was they made about $58 million in profit from the Dungeons and Dragons movie. And that's a little over a fourth of a month of profit from Monopoly Go. So of course, Hasbro is looking at a profit from a cinematic release, not seeing how it helps the brand, how it like cements it as an entertainment property. And just says, yeah, but could we get more out of it? Is there a way we can, like, in the theater be doing microtransactions to the viewers of the movie? And so, yeah, then they go on to talk about they kind of forced Critical Role to become its own thing. The OGL fiasco. Larian immediately went on to better things after doing the biggest, hit for them that they're ever going to see in video games. And then, they bought D&D Beyond, haven't, really done anything with it from what it was originally built as. And then they strapped on, now they've just strapped on Sigil to an incomplete and now dead in the water VTT. So PC Gamer having taking a couple swipes at Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards of the Coast. And yeah, they end the article talking about any game system, product, or company would kill for Dungeons and Dragons like ubiquity and household name. And so, yeah, it is, I guess, in a way very similar to McDonald's. It's the name. Ray Kroc bought the name McDonald's. He didn't buy, anything else. He just wanted that name. So when Wizards of the Coast bought D&D, they just wanted Dungeons and Dragons. They didn't care what they were going to be, what you're going to be playing, or what that's going to be slapped on the top of. So yeah, I thought that was pretty funny for a PC gaming website. They sure do not like Wizards of the Coast.
So apparently, Wizards made $90 million on their licensing for Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm sure Chris Cox doesn't think that's enough.
Yeah. Well, yeah, compared to like what mobile games are a disease. Like these microtransaction mobile games, they're a thing that many governments and everybody have, said this is gambling for children. We're not doing this. And eventually it's not going to be, anything that you can push on children. I mean, I think now there's a little less care about what we subject children to, but hopefully that's going to change, and that just won't be a revenue stream for them. But who knows?
Shifting gears back to Wizkids, though, I looked it up because I had a suspicion, and I was right. Wizkids is Mage Knight is 25 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, Will and I were playing that back in the day, and what's funny is it's just they haven't really changed their formula for their minis at all in 25 years. It's the same shitty soft miniatures with with the really sloppy painting. But one thing they didn't really do in Mage Knight is they didn't bother with faces.
Oh, yeah, right.
They would do like a base coat and a wash, and like so you just whatevered it. And I think people's eyes are just naturally going to notice problems with faces, and so when they try to do faces and it looks like a psychopathic 3-year-old painted them,
right?
People are going to notice and comment, you know.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point.
and it's weird that because they haven't changed the minis at all, but the prices certainly have gone up. Like, I think when it started, we were buying Mage Knight booster boxes, which was like this little long box that had like, I think 5 minis in it for like $12.
Wow, yeah.
Right. And now you're talking about them costing about $7 each.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I know it's been 25 years, but they haven't improved their materials,
right,
or their methods. So it's like,
and
I think they've just been riding this whole thing, you know.
Yeah. It seems like everybody connected to Dungeons and Dragons has just been riding it because they release these collector's sets, but they don't like spend more money to produce them. They're done the same cheap way, just like Hasbro did with HeroQuest. You think HeroQuest would have been a time to like up the production and experiment with using better materials and things like Kickstarter board games do, and they just didn't. They just used the same cheap stuff that goes into the their copies of Candyland in Walmart. They really are stuck with their weird manufacturing choices. But yeah, there's definitely better options out there. So I don't know why they wouldn't make the change. But and it would be interesting to know how many miniatures an individual worker in one of those factories has to paint in a day. I bet it's like 1,000 or, but it's like an insane amount of, just going down the line, doing eyes on, that many characters per hour. It's just got to be insane.
I don't want to think about that dumb wizard that much. Ugh.
Yeah, right.
They could have, well, maybe, if they were willing to change how they do things, which obviously they aren't. Imagine if they had done just a little higher quality miniature and sold it 2 ways. Sold it with a premium paint job for some ridiculous amount of money. Right. And what nice board games are doing now, where you get like that sun drop kind of finish. Yeah. So you have 2 different ways to sell it at different price points. No one would get angry. I mean, people would probably get angry when they saw the price tag for the nicely painted ones, but they'll have that option to get the other ones.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, and it would, if they did a really premium version, it was kind of a limited edition, that would make the other one seem cheaper. It would make I'll just go with the cheap option, because that's much more affordable than, $25 or whatever for a well-painted miniature. Well, speaking of Mage Knight being 25 years old, another company is 25 years old this year, and that would be Green Ronin. So this May, I don't know if you've celebrated yet, but this May is Modern Age May. So of course, Fantasy Age and Everything Age, Dragon Age, Everything Age is Green Ronin, and so That system, though, their modern system that basically you can play cyberpunk or more, contemporary settings, it has only been around for 7 years. The company itself is celebrating its 25th anniversary, and there's a blog post on their website from one of the designers that worked on Modern Age, and said, yeah, that was the first project that they were there when they started on when they joined, and they worked with Chris Paramus, Matthew Dawkins, Megan Fitzgerald, Crystal Frazier, and many others to produce their Modern Age setting. Some setting books such as Lazarus and Threefold, and then they released a companion, Aliens and Allies. So a lot of support for this Modern Age game system. And I guess the most recent kind of setting was their, or what they call a genre or model book, Cyberpunk Slice. So yeah, it's you can, and of course, this is one of those you can do everything, in this system, kind of, not quite, as simulationist as GURPS, but that kind of thing. So Modern Age can pretty much do anything you want it to, but to escape the tone issues of some of the RPGs are presented as generic. So some of their options, and you can add different things like cyberpunk or whatever to be more flavorful and provide atmosphere and guidance. So why are we talking about this? Well, partially they're celebrating the anniversary, but they also have a bundle available. So a pretty decent price for the physical books on their website. So I'll put a link to the, you can either go to Free Ronin, Drive-Thru RPG, or the web shop for Green Ronin. And they have a big bundle, and I think they're going to do this with kind of all of their settings throughout the year, is each month kind of celebrate one of those settings. Sorry, I mean systems. Yeah, one of their systems. And yes, so May was Modern Age. So Modern Age, May for Green Ronin. And I think sorry, wait a minute.
Dying over there.
I'm choking. All right, there we go. So every month I think they're going to celebrate a different game or whatever. And I think the Expanse system, the Expanse was the first to use the modern system that Green Ronin did. It was one of the their first IPs that they used this for. So the Expanse and Cthulhu Awakens, which is their more contemporary Cthulhu game. So yeah, I'll put a link in the description to that, and we'll see what happens next month. So get ready for, I don't know, something June from Green Ronin. But it's amazing to think so many of these companies that seem still young and new, are all 25 years old. They all started around, late 90s, early 2000s.
Well, I think that age system that they use, although they don't use it for their Mutants and Masterminds game, they're still doing like D20 on that one. But that age system, I think, originally was the engine made for the Dragon Age TTRPG.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then it... Fuck it. Excuse me. Will Wheaton did like an actual play of the Dragon Age game, which was lame as hell. And then that hit. So then they did Fantasy Age.
I see.
Right. And now they've evolved it into all these other things, which is actually kind of cool that they made a system that they can stretch into different things.
Right. Yeah. Does Green Ronin also do the Witcher? Oh no, that's Telsarian. No, that's Telsarian.
Yeah, that's kind of sort of the cyberpunk system.
Yeah, right. That's right. All right, but so happy birthday, Green Ronin. But yeah, talking about things in the 90s. Oh no, we're going back to this. So I kind of missed this as a fad. I think my little brother got caught up a little bit in it. But do you remember Pogs? Well, so they were and I think this, I remember reading somewhere that this started in Hawaii, like because they still had like an old milk delivery kind of standard thing. So old milk bottles used to have a cardboard, like a maybe wax on one side, kind of cardboard cap that was the only thing kind of sealing it. That was your only hygienic, when it came from the dairy, that was the only thing hygienically sealing it. And so once you opened the bottle, you didn't have any need for that cap anymore. The bottle just went right straight in the fridge. So those milk caps, that kind of I don't know, like a 2-inch square, 1.5-inch square, 1.5-inch round cap became a thing kids would collect and play with. And once the companies figured that out, they would put, you know, more interesting graphics and things on them. And then companies just started producing them as a kid's game just on their own, just like little cardboard discs. So it's a stack of cardboard discs that you then take a larger plastic, your slammer, and throw down on the top of a stack of these, and if they come down, if they land graphic side up, they're fine. You get to keep them. If you get them to flip over, then you get to take them. So you can kind of like, it's kind of like battling trading cards and stealing other people's collections. You're just slamming their little colorful cardboard discs. It's
2D marbles.
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's the flattened marbles, and that's right. Because marbles, you take the marbles as well, and so that's the origin of it. If you're too young to know, if you weren't born in the '90s or born before the '90s, you wouldn't have known about it. And so it was a collection thing, and I think probably in the '90s there were probably every IP you could imagine came on a Pog, and. So the company that does Slam Dice, a kind of fantasy-themed combat game using dice, is now doing their Slam Throne. So Slam Throne is a Pogs version, is an RPG-based Pogs version. It's got really fun art. They have really good, whatever studio or whatever in-house artist they use, they do really fun, bright art. And so basically they're going to sell sets, and they're trying to give a little bit of an RPG mechanic to Pogs. So the stack of your Pogs is based on your health. So whatever character, so the Slammer has the graphic for your character. That will tell you how many health they have. That's how tall of a stack of Pogs they get, their health stack. So their Hero Slammer is the hard plastic disc that you throw down, and it has character art on both sides and different abilities on each side. So the abilities can be passive, but they can also be catch abilities. So what is a catch ability? So basically you reduce the health of your enemy by flipping over their Pogs, you know, and reducing the stack and taking them. So you take turns hitting the top of the stack with the hard plastic slammer and taking what's left until somebody, you know, you flip over all of their Pogs. And so the special abilities allow you to do different things. The passive abilities allow you to do different things or give you certain benefits, maybe recover some health or something. But the catch ability means you have to slam the hero Pog and then also catch it in midair before it hits the table. So like, I guess like jacks, right? And then that triggers that ability. So whatever it says on the Pog for the catch ability, you can use that ability, but only if you've caught the slammer Pog. So not high level, not deeply strategic, not multifaceted, a very simple kind of, you know, fantasy brawl between a barbarian and a, you know, wizard and an orc. And so they will be debuting. So if you want to be the first one to see this game in action, they will be debuting it at Gen Con this year. And it's fun and colorful, and their dice, or is it? Yeah, no, I'm sorry, it's Dice Throne, I think. Dice Throne game is actually really well supported. Like they have, you know, merchandise and a ton of different systems. They have like a campaign system with that, as well as just a PvP kind of style. Mm. But yeah.
So in the 90s, Pogs were always the thing that at least where I was, your friendly local comic book store guy would always be trying to get you to try.
yes.
And I'm like, no, I'm cool, man. I'm just going to buy my copy of Hellboy and move on.
Yeah.
Dexterity games are funny. They're never... Well, okay, I take it back. If you play a lot of games, nerdy games, whatever... Dexterity games are never as fun as you think they're going to be. right. Like, every couple of years, because, like, Will and me and a couple of our friends that play locally have basically we've turned this game room of Will's into just a public library where we leave our shit all the time. And we have the Catacombs, which was a flicking dungeon delving game. And we have this other one that's called Disc Duelers, which is a really silly flicking hero game.
Right.
And we used to have a Western one, but I think we just ditched that one. But it's like every year or two, someone will go, "Hey, we should play Catacombs. We haven't played that in a long time." We're like, "Oh yeah, I remember that with the flicking." Okay, and we get it out and we play it, and then afterwards, we're like, "Yeah, that's not. It's not really a good game."
Yeah, it's funny, and it's funny that a lot of indie RPGs have embraced the some kind of dexterity thing, like the Jenga tower, or in the recent game that's being kickstarted, the Job, the heist game. You stack dice, you make a tower of dice that if something happens to that, it has a game mechanic effect. Yeah, so it's funny how people try to keep wanting to include, and I guess because it adds some sort of variety, but you're right, it's never as fun as you think it's going to be, and it's kind of very inconsistent with how it works in the game. You think it might,
and some people are real particular when they're playing like a competitive game, and you can't be particular when you're just flicking things around on a board,
right. Yeah.
You have to own that it's a silly game.
Yeah. Can I do that again? Oh, sure. Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's very true. But if you like Pogs, or if you want to see what the heck this is, I'm sure there's going to be a giant booth with big graphics for this game. Yeah. So the company is Dice Throne, and I guess they're named after their original game, and then Slam Throne is their latest creation. So yeah, I don't think Pogs are coming back, but yeah, at least they're going after that dexterity nostalgia game.
Good luck to them.
Yes, good luck. But lastly, so we did a flip through and kind of discussion of Daggerheart. So Daggerheart was just released. I think people that pre-ordered it, they got physical copies. It's going to retail in early June. In like friendly local game stores, but Daggerheart is out in the wild, at least the core book. But already there are play-testable new character classes, so they're already expanding the game, and they talked a little bit to Darrington Press about this. So yeah, May 20th, we got the release of Daggerheart. So this is the Darrington Press, which is Critical Role's, kind of publisher. And Spencer Stark is kind of the head of and he did Alice is Missing, and he is also working with the creator of Blades in the Dark on this. So there's some collaboration with some, kind of indie darlings to do this. And yeah, their result was okay. You can watch. I'll put a link to the live stream if you want to watch that. It'll be probably recommended on the channel as well. So the day after the release, they shared new playtest materials, and they built a website that they're calling The Void. So they're just going to post the kind of newest things, playtest materials, and kind of that's going to be their place where they communicate with the players, kind of get feedback, and they offer everything for download, the new playtest packages and things. So they talked to Spencer Stark, and he said, yes, so we're currently working on the stuff that comes next. And he also said they had plenty of material from the early design stages that just didn't make the final cut of the core book. So there's a lot more to come. And I guess it's good to see that they're going to keep supporting it. So the two classes that they're releasing now for playtesting are Warlocks and Fighters, and they kind of resemble what you would think, in the D&D classes. And that was one thing that was interesting in the core book, is they avoided a lot of direct analog. Like I think in your stats, Strength was the only one that was named the same thing in D&D, and a lot of the abilities and things they tried to make it different. And of course, all the heritages, their word for race, were different except dwarf, elf, and human. Everything else had had its own flavor. So the mechanic that they're adding with these two new classes is called favor. So if you weren't excited about generating fear and hope, now you can also generate favor. So your warlock, with whoever they're committed to, whatever horrible horrible demon or deity they're committed to, will gain favor points that they can spend to do different things. So the two subclasses for warlock are Pact of the Endless and Pact of the Wrathful. So basically, Endless will just give you could shake off damage and basically probably blood heal, basically, and the Pact of the Wrathful will let you. Oh, and that was the thing that I was surprised. We didn't see anything about reroll, so none of the mechanics seemed to support any sort of rerolling. There was advantage and disadvantage, but no reroll. This will add a reroll mechanic. So if you are a Pact of the Wrathful Warlock, you can reroll missed attacks and reroll damage dice. So that was the only, and maybe there are some subclasses that have that, but that was the first time I noticed reroll in the game mechanic. So that's interesting that they'll do that, because then aren't you also generating, maybe it specifically says you're not generating any other points when you're re-rolling. And then the fighter,
maybe you have to re-roll the 20-sided like the DM.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's right. And then the fighter class is divided into the Juggernaut and the Martial Artist. And of course, they put a little halfling in his little gi for the character art on the playtest materials. So yeah, you have to have a Kung Fu Bilbo to make it all worthwhile. So they'll specialize in unarmed strikes. They're going to roll a D10 plus their tier for physical damage and do multi-hits and things. So kind of stuff you would expect. So yeah, and also the Martial Artist will, of course, have stances. So just to add all of that. So they didn't say how long the surveys are going to be out for this play test, and there's no telling when they're going to be actually integrated as official classes. But the full documents are on the Void, the Darrington Press website, and I'll also put a link if you just want to have a look at what they tried to do with this game. The SRD is available. So I'll put a link to the Daggerheart SRD. So that's basically the rules without all the artwork or any of the adventure frameworks or anything, any of their creative stuff. It's just the mechanics, of the system without any layout or art. But yeah.
I have two follow-ups and then a snarky comment.
Okay. Yes.
Follow-up number one is, it seems to me like literally after your guys's, or maybe even, no, I guess it was in the after credits talk yesterday. It came up as like, unlike most new games, there is no reroll mechanic in this game. But now they're going to have one, but it's only for one class. That seems messed up.
Yeah, it might be in there because we didn't go through what each ability for each subclass can do, but I didn't see any, like in the core mechanics there is no basic reroll feature. So yeah, it just may be buried. I want to play the reroll subclass, so yeah. I don't know. Good point though.
And then in that release, did they say anything about how they're going to wedge them into their wheel of stuff? Yeah, no, they didn't, because they will have to share, like they'll have shared, I'm forgetting what they called it, like things, flavors. They have these effects that either are the type of ability or the type of magic. They're either magic abilities or just abilities, like physical abilities, like maybe basically magic and martial realms or whatever. But they're themed like bone and nature and spectral. They're not elemental, but they're kind of have these like schools of abilities. And they made a nice wheel, and they had nice even numbers. So the classes and subclasses all shared these different domains. I think they're called domains, shared these different domains. And now they've got two more that they're going to have to somehow wedge into there and show you what domains they're sharing. Because each of the ability has a domain that it's flavored by. And they did a nice job, Will pointed out, with the card art, that the domains have a real strong color identification.
So just glancing at a card, it has a golden yellow tone. You know that's going to be for this healing domain, and the very white ivory, that's going to be the bone domain, and the brown will be for some elemental thing. So there's a lot of nice identification they did in the design. But yeah, they built a perfect a perfect circle that was divided like a pie chart with all of the domains and classes, and now they just broke it. So we'll see. And that may explain why they didn't make the final cut on the core book.
Now my snarky thing. When do you think Daggerheart was announced?
Oh, jeez.
Don't Google it. Just
yeah. It's a while ago, feels like. Because I remember... some talk about, they're working on their own system. Wow, what's that going to mean?
When was it officially announced?
Oh, officially announced. I will guess. Man, I gotta get the pandemic out of the way. I'll say 2021.
No. Mm-hmm. It was officially announced as a thing we're gonna do. Mm-hmm. February 10th, 2025.
Really? I thought for the longest time they were talking about, because they did the setting book for 5e.
I think they were letting little things slip.
Yeah. But the official announcement really was this year. Wow.
Okay, here's the better one. This is gonna probably burn some souls in chat. When do you think MCDM was officially announced?
Right after he left Wizards of the Coast. That I would guess 2020.
February 1st, 2018.
Wow. Yeah, so well before.
And which one's available right now? Daggerheart.
Wow. Yeah, and that could be, that system could be something they're infinitely going to tinker with, because like when you watch his videos, the MCDM videos, it seems like they're just constantly talking about what's cool and what they could do, and it's maybe like a never-ending homebrew. Mm-hmm. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I feel like I don't know. It's weird. Like the people that decided to make a game to chase D&D players because of all the OGL and everything. Mm-hmm. I think they should have just made a different thing. Like,
yeah.
Because Tales of the Valiant, nobody talks about that anymore.
Right.
MCDM is who knows, like, and this came out. Props to them. We'll see how it goes, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, and this may have been more of a for money project that people who knows how they're funding and how they're really dealing with the contractors and the work for the MCDM, but I bet Daggerheart was just like, okay, we're going to pay these guys because they got some good names involved, so we're going to pay these guys, we're going to get this art done, and they basically treated it like a real project that they were going to release as a publisher. No crowdfunding, no doodling around with how many millions of dollars we can get, how many late pledges and whatever. So I bet they had a different approach to it, a more professional approach, perhaps. But that's very funny. Oh, and a quick note: this is more video game related, but it made me laugh because Embracer Group is no longer a thing. So I don't think we're going to be talking about it anymore. So Embracer Group just recently has broken up this two remaining, so they were spinning everything off, and the thing that was Embracer Group, that remained Embracer Group, is now being spun off between Coffee Stain Group, which will have 250 studios and games, I think mostly video game publishers and studios, under its kind of umbrella, and the other half of Embracer is going to be rebranded as Fellowship Entertainment, and they'll be handling all the rest of the studios, including Lord of the Rings and Hobbit-related things. And the MMO, I guess they're working on. But there is no more Embracer Group. They're not going to be calling themselves Embracer anymore, which is a shame because that is such a sinister, horrible name. So now it's the friendly and lovable Fellowship Entertainment. Oh, geez. They're so sweet. But I thought that was a funny side note. Not enough to talk about for very long, but the end of Embracer as we know it, because they've done nothing but lose money and failed to get funding from Saudi Arabia. All right, so that is going to do it this week. Thanks again to Tasty Halloumi for becoming a weekling. And you can become a weekling too if you head over to patreon.com/upturntable. So the weekling tier tells us, you can tell us the kind of things you want to see on our weekly kind of news roundup, and also other things that you'd want to have us talk about. The channel has other tiers, based on lore videos, actual plays, any other stuff that we're doing. And Matt, where can people find you?
Real quick, also thanks to Arturo for becoming a chronicler.
Yes, thank you.
On Patreon, and thanks to Vero for coming back from the wilderness.
Yes,
and becoming a subscriber.
Yeah,
member.
Yes, member on YouTube. Yes, thank you.
But you can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky. It's at Hargold, HARGALD. Where usually I'm promoting the stuff we're doing, like the Daggerheart talk yesterday, and stuff with this Outgun Adventures Indie Heat sequel we're going to be playing soon, and our Fallout games, which have been a lot of fun. And just generally talking about the industry a little bit. Cool. How about you?
I am doing my single panel gag cartoon on a live stream. It'll show up in this channel. It'll happen sometime before the end of May. It's called Abuse Cartoons. You can read the cartoon on gocomics.com/domestic abuse, and Abuse Cartoons on YouTube and Twitch. And quick re-notification. Thanks again, Vero, for becoming a member. And thanks to everyone on the Patreon, Arturo and Casey. That means a lot. And of course, Tasty Halloumi. And we will be back again next week. Goodbye.
Bye.